रिकॉर्ड होगा ये, रिकॉर्ड हो जाएगा। ओके देन कितनी देर का टेस्टिंग है?
30 मिनट।
तो तुम लोग यहाँ पर क्या, आप लोग जाओ बाहर। पूरा क्लोज द डोर भाई। Hello everyone. So now we are going to have a discussion on this next topic, that is about ocean currents. So what is an ocean current and how do we define ocean current? What are the properties of it and how does it influence human life? Right? This topic is very essential so far as our exam is concerned. You take any UPSC exam, you will have a question on ocean current. So how do we define ocean current? It is the mass of water moving in a particular direction. So anything that moves in one direction, is called as a current. It's like water moving in one direction is called current. Charge moving in one direction is called as current. Population moving in one direction is called as current. So here the mass of water is moving in one direction. Right? So you would see that on the surface of ocean, it's like the stream of water moving on the surface. Right? For example, if we see here in this particular diagram, you would see that ocean currents have a direction, they're moving from east to west. These arrows depict the direction of the current. Leave about the naming of these currents, leave about the names of these currents, whether they are, what is the name, like Gulf Stream, whether it's Kuroshio current, you will remember these currents anyhow, right? So don't worry about it. First of all, let's try to get the basic idea. So here is this basic idea, that the water is moving from one direction to another in a particular way, in a particular manner, and that is how we define the current. Some of that you would see warm currents, some of them you see cold currents. How are they formed? Why are they formed? How do they work? All that will be discussed one by one. But before that, what we are going to have a discussion on is the factors which affect ocean currents. As we see here, the first factor is the prevailing wind. First factor is the prevailing wind. Now, how do winds have effect on ocean currents? Suppose there's an air current that moves. Right? You take a tub of water, right? A tub of water. Right? It's a tub of water, and keep it in front of the suppose a table fan. It will blow air. This fan will blow air. Now this air produces friction with water. It produces friction with water, and the water will move in the same direction as that of the wind. Right? So you would see that to whichever direction the air is blown, the water will also start moving in the similar direction. The water will also start moving in the same direction. Right? So this is what is important to understand. So let's see, how does it influence the ocean current? How does it influence ocean currents? Let's move this away. Suppose we have studied winds, we have discussed winds. So this is the low pressure, which is called as equatorial low pressure, formed at 0 degree latitude. Equatorial low pressure belt formed at 0 degree latitude. And here at the same region, there are these winds which are called as northeast trade winds, right? Northeast trade winds and southeast trade winds. And southeast trade winds. Now, this is the direction of the wind, right? This is the direction of the wind. If this is the direction of the wind, the water should also move in the same direction. See, look at the ocean current, look at it, equator. You would see that ocean current is also moving in the same direction. So why do ocean currents move from east to west at equator? Is because of the effect of these trade winds. And what do we call this as? We call it as equatorial currents. We'll see it later, whether it's warm current, whether it's hot current, what happens when they move from one direction to another. Right now, just focusing on why and how currents move. Why do they move from one region to another? So at equator, winds take this water to west, east to west. Now similarly, if you look at the polar regions, subpolar regions in fact, in the subpolar regions, ocean currents actually flow from west to east. Why is it so? Now you should be able to understand, because the direction of wind is from west to east. What do we call these winds as? Westerlies. So westerlies drag water from east to west at equator. I beg your pardon. Westerlies drag water from west to east at subpolar latitudes, at 60 degree latitude. Now, having said this, these are two examples of ocean currents moving from one direction to another direction, caused by what is a factor? Prevailing wind, right? Prevailing wind. So if you go back to the previous diagram, you can see these currents moving from east to west. Now, can you see the reason? Can you understand the reason? These are trade winds, northeast trade winds and southeast trade winds. Northeast trade winds, southeast trade winds, dragging water from east to west. Now, similarly, there are few more factors. Few more factors come into play, and we shall discuss these factors one by one, right? One by one. Let's see the next factor. Temperature. Now, how does temperature have an influence on ocean currents? What is the reason how in temperature will be a part, or how does it play a very important role in changing the direction of the current, or first of all producing a current? The answer is temperature gradient, temperature difference, right? Temperature difference. Now, how temperature difference, how temperature gradient? You would see that warm water expands. Warm water expands. Cold water shrinks because it gets denser, it shrinks. So if we see the polar regions or subpolar regions here, like suppose again I'll consider this as tub of water. Suppose this is 0 degree latitude and this is 60 degree latitude. This is equator and the other one is subpolar regions. Now, because of this, the temperature here in subpolar region is extremely low. Water gets compressed. It's denser. Therefore, it sinks. And water level is much higher in the regions where temperature is higher. Water level is more in the regions where temperature is higher. Now, see the difference in the water level. What should happen? the water should travel from equator to subpolar latitudes. So water should move from equator to subpolar latitudes. Now, when we say that water is moving from equator to subpolar latitudes because of thermal gradient, because of temperature difference, so you would see, again, let me go back to that diagram. Let's go back to this diagram. You can see warm water piling up here and then going towards polar regions or subpolar regions. Why is it so? It is because of temperature difference. So there is an expansion in the warm water and there is contraction in the cold water. So the warm water will expand towards the cooler